I develop training content for the sales teams. I think there's no better, honestly, course authoring tool for speed to create content quickly. And Rise creates incredible courses that work on basically anything that you throw at it, and you can make them very, really quickly, and meet the deadline that you need to meet, essentially. And then Storyline, your imagination, honestly, is the limit. I mean, if you want to get deep into it with JavaScript and all of that, you can do that. Or just at surface level, it already makes incredible courses. So you can leave it at that, and it still looks amazing. And it still works on every device you could think of. So I think that's its biggest strength, is its just versatility is incredible. I would love to see more of the animations from Storyline, a little bit more modern animations, rather than some of the preset ones. Getting into some of the technical details, I guess, it kind of shows you how robust the product already is. Rise as well, would love to see a little bit more customization with Rise. 10. Tight deadlines is probably the best well-suited area of this. A lot of times we get a push from marketing that says the sales teams have to know about this right now, and we have to turn something around really quick, and we don't have a lot of resources or time, but we can make something in Rise in a business day, and make it look good and interactive, and we make, their requirements, and it's out the door. I mean, so that's probably the best example of that. Love, actually, a great fit for, we have a lot of training where we need to get a lot of engagement or excitement about the training. So, when Rise doesn't work, we can make a really splashy Storyline course that, demonstrates a new product, really gives them like the features and the overviews and all of that good stuff that really helps them get excited, especially gearing up for like in-person conferences and stuff like that. He really fits that need. I think it's just like with any tool. Honestly, there are some times where the training objective that's needed to be completed is best done in person, and there's just no getting around that. I don't think there's ever going to be a tool that can get around that, because that's human nature. Face-to-face is just how our brains work. So there's going to be some trainings that just have to be in person or have to be an online event. But for everything else, there's Articulate. I've used Adobe Captivate. I found that to be a little more complex than it needed to be. I've used Beyond as well, which is kind of not really a competitor, sort of is a competitor, but I found these styles to be a little outdated. I honestly, the major one is decreased cost, without a doubt. Before I joined my company, we did a lot of trainings were basically just PDFs or PowerPoints, and they weren't getting the message across. So the touch interactivity of what you can build with Rise and Storyline, just anything that's hands-on that makes a user do something, kind of helps with retention. And the amount of meetings and like in-person events that they wanted to schedule really, I think, has decreased when I've shown them what we can do with this product. And so there's not a need for as much in-person training anymore, which is obviously reduced costs. Yeah. So we have obviously like a lot of learning development partners, a needs assessment process where somebody will come to us with a need for training. We'll evaluate what that need is, come back to them, and then decide what the modality will be of that training. And a lot of times it ends up being e-learning. So that's when Articulate comes into play. I'll typically suggest whether or not it needs to be a course authored by Rise and then show them examples of what Rise can do, or a course authored by Storyline when it's more of a spotlight kind of project. And then I'll show them examples of that. And then review, I use throughout the entire process, whether that's not using a non-articulate thing, like a video editing project or something like that. I'll upload that to review to get comments and timestamps and stuff like that because it's just so easy. And that's for the entire QA process for any training is review. So I feel like review I actually end up using more than the products itself, which is kind of funny to think about. But yeah, that's my experience with all of those. And I have not used the LMS, but I hear it's good. I think the AI assistant is definitely helpful for idea generation. A lot of times, especially training people in development, we're not SMEs. We don't have to know every single detail about our product. I couldn't tell you, being in the dental industry, every single thing about a tooth that you ever needed to know. But sometimes we're expected to do that. And I think the AI assistant is really helpful in throwing a lot of content at it, PDFs, PowerPoints, anything for marketing, and it coming up with a course outline that, gives you a start. Because a lot of times you don't have that help getting a start on things. And just that alone, I mean, that saves tons of business days worth of work. And not to mention, it's built in. So there's a lot of less clicks. Checking your grammar, it's right there. Making an image that you just need for the background, it's right there. Generating assessment questions, which is usually a huge pain. Well, obviously it's AI. It's not ever going to be perfect. It gives you a start. It can generate 40 some questions with a couple documents, and you can weed out the ones you don't want. And, that's 30, 40 minutes worth of time coming up with questions that AI just did for you, but using, making your courses look better instead. So I think it's great. It's a great time saver. And it's great for just kind of sparking creativity because I think we all get in that rut of, I've done this a million times. I can't think of like another way to do it. So it kind of throws something different at you. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's always room for improvement, but I mean, that's every product. So yeah, I think so. And I think it's interesting that you asked me that because I didn't have to go through the sales and marketing promises from Articulate. I think coming from in the industry, it's just known that if you want to get it done, it's probably going to be with Articulate because everyone uses it. And if you don't know it, then it's a huge hole in your resume, essentially, in my opinion. I can't comment on. I wasn't part of the implementation, but I use it, so it must have gone well. Yes, 100%. I use a lot of video editing software, the Adobe suite. Besides Captivate, like I mentioned earlier in another question, about Premiere Pro, Camtasia, Canva for quick like image generation, stuff like that, or design work. Um, Illustrator from the Adobe suite. Trying to even think of half the other stuff I use. Just smaller, like tiny little programs that help assist basically building storyline courses. 10, I guess, depending on the product.